Stop rushing, slow down and evaluate. Don't rush into things, my darling children, for this is when mistakes happen. Take an example. Moses was just mourning the loss of Miriam, his sister. Him and Aaron were in the tent grieving for her and dealing with living the rest of their earthly life without her. Then the Israelites come in, complaining once more. Moses was frustrated with them, and he couldn't even have a little time to grieve for his beloved sister. And they came in complaining to him, being hard-hearted. He did consult me about the situation, but Moses was so angry and irritated by them that he rushed into doing the action I asked of him, and thus used anger. Numbers 20:1-13. Tell them your situation, my love. Oh, must I? Yes, they will learn from it. Okay, my God. I was out buying some things for the homeless. I went and got some toothbrushes and toothpaste, some food and drink, basic necessities that they just don't have. And I went and gave it to the homeless man that was sitting down with his bag. He was pleased and thanked me very much. I spoke a few things to him, then I asked if I could hug him, and he was glad. So he hugged and then I said goodbye. Suddenly, this man in front stopped me. He said, I can see that you're trying to help them. Then he began to talk really fast. There was a lot of things I couldn't understand that he was saying. My brain is like that when people talk fast. It just sounds like a blur. As he was talking, I looked over to the woman who he had just spoken to, and they had a shocking look on their faces. I didn't understand. And then I began to ask him if he believes in God and in Jesus, and he replied with yes. Looking back on it, I feel in my spirit he was lying about it. He kept on pushing me to buy one of his joke books, saying that he was selling them so he could live in this shelter. Obviously, looking back on it now, it was all a scam. I felt rushed and just wanted him to leave me alone, in all honesty. I gave him the £3 so he would leave me alone. I didn't care about the book at all. This example is a very good one, as I was rushed in that situation and acted rashly, instead of severely thinking about the situation and acting accordingly. You see, many of us rush about doing this and that. When was the last time you just sat or stood and thought, how will this really benefit me? Or how will God think about this act or this thought? The world is running at a much faster rate than what it normally did. There are many people who simply can't slow down and just relax. Don't you see? Father brought Shabbat for this very reason, so we could rest from all things and just relax in His presence and in His love. God has given us periodical seasons of rest throughout the day to just be still with Him. Precisely, my child. I would not arrange these times if I did not want you to rest. Like, for instance, at the end of the day, you come in from hard days at work. Or from a day's work doing housework and gardening. You put your feet up in the evening and you just sit or still for a few moments. This is goodly in my view. All creatures need rest, darling ones, and I've given you an entire day in the week in order to achieve complete rest, from one sunset to another, marking a complete day. Getting into this place every evening will prove a good practice, my darling ones. It will help you to slow and rest a while. Come into my presence, either by reading a psalm or a proverb, or just simply by thinking of me and allowing me to take you to your garden heart and fill you with endless waters of life. I will fill you to overflowing. Once you have learnt to achieve this momentary slowness during the evening times, you can then put into practice slowing yourselves down when it comes to speech and conversations. Learn to respond in a slower rate. Evaluate what is being said to you, reflect on it, and decide accordingly whether it would be good to carry out those actions, or to have such thoughts. Take things slow and do not rush. By rushing, you lead yourself into destruction and sin. Slow down and evaluate properly. There's no rush. Aren't I the author of time? Come now, Slow down and act appropriately. I will be there to help you through it. Don't you worry. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Joshua 1:5. There is no need to be so fast-charged. Slow yourselves and don't allow anyone to rush you. If they do, simply warn them to slow down the conversation or walk away. This way, my children, you are not letting them get a handle on you, but you are in more control over what is taking place. There are times, though, when rushing is needed, like when emergencies happen. Of course, there is need to be rushed during these encounters, but I'm talking about everyday conversations. I love you, my dearlies. I love you dearly, my sweet beloved children. I know how much it irritates some of you when people speed on with their words and you can't respond in time, and then before you know it, they have finished the conversation. I understand perfectly how you feel. I see how your brain activity works. I see how some find it so overwhelming, for the ones whose brains process many things at once, and for ones who respond at a slower rate and need time to process the conversation, and so they may not reply within a minute's time. Then there are some who prefer speaking fast. Slow down for the sake of others, and to help evaluate the conversation properly so that no sin arises. I will always advise you and correct you, dear ones. I am always here for you. Remember, slow down, take a breath, think, then respond. But also wait a little, son. Don't respond as quick. So have patience, precious children of mine.